Partial human remains discovered at Moatview Drive, Priorswood, Coolock, on Monday, the 13th of January 2020, are those of Keane Mulready-Woods.
People knew Keane Mulready-Woods as a humble person who loved racing and had a bright future ahead of him. Everyone in Drogheda, a small town where everyone knew each other, liked him because he had a big smile. Keane was the kind of guy that everyone liked being around. He liked riding his scrambler bike and hanging out with his friends. Trouble was slowly creeping up behind that calm appearance, and the life he used to know was about to take a deadly turn.
Gardaí have appealed for information to help identify human remains found in a sports bag in North Dublin last night.
In due time, we will learn how a series of bad decisions and dangerous connections sent him down a road he could never go back from. Keane began hanging out with the wrong crowd when he was a teenager. What started as an interest quickly turned into a deadly pull. Criminals in the area told him they would give him money, expensive clothes, and respect. It looked like a simple way to get away from the normal life he was living. Keane couldn't stay away from the rush of being a part of something bigger than himself, and soon he was involved in Drogheda's small crimes, which showed his darker side. It was just a way to get something that seemed too good to pass up and feel strong. However, Keane did not understand that he was now on a road from which he could not return. The more Keane went into it, the more pressure he felt from his family. Owen Maguire, who was his uncle, was a terrible crime boss who everyone feared. Being connected to a criminal person with so much power was heavy. Keane no longer had a choice. He had to prove himself in this dangerous underground. Fear and violence were a part of the family history, and the young teen was becoming another piece of that bloody puzzle. Keane didn't know that his link to Maguire would soon make him a target in a war that was about to start. As things got worse for Keane, one more terrible thing was about to happen that would pull him even deeper into the chaos.
And recent gang wars have cost the lives of 3 people, one person paralysed, and seen a lot of arson attacks. The current cycle of violence in July 2018 was the attempted murder of Owen Maguire outside his house in the town. Maguire was shot at least 6 times in the stomach, shoulder and both hands, with one bullet lodging in his spine, leaving him paralysed. And Owen Maguire is the godfather of Keane Woods. He was a well-known associate of Cornelius Price, believed to be one of the leaders of the gang involved in the feud. The shooting sparked a series of tit-for-tat shootings.
The fight for control of the streets had been going on for years between Owen Maguire's gang and Robbie Lawlor's group. Not only was it about drugs and power, but it was also about people. They were fighting all the time, and it got worse every day. Shootings in the street, brutal beatings, and setting fires were just the beginning. Violence changed into revenge, though, and each side pushed the other further into the abyss. In 2018, the feud reached a breaking point when Owen Maguire, Keane's godfather, was ambushed at his home and shot 6 times by a gunman. The attack left Maguire paralyzed, unable to move below his waist, and that's when the real war began. With Maguire out of commission, the power vacuum left room for more bloodshed. The animosity between the two gangs deepened, and Robbie Lawlor became even more determined to prove his dominance. But it wasn't just about turf anymore, it was personal. Then came December 2019. A group of youths, no older than Keane himself, ambushed Lawlor outside a Dublin gym. What was meant to be a simple robbery turned into something far worse for Lawlor. The teens beat him and stole his gym bag, and the whole thing was caught on camera. Worse, the footage quickly spread across social media, humiliating Lawlor in front of the world.
Yes! That's only the start of it! That's only the start of it! That's only the start of it, Robbie!
But the most mocking part? The youths, laughing, took a pair of flip-flops from the gym bag and posted photos of themselves wearing them. That single image became a symbol of Lawlor's shame, something that would haunt him every day. As Lawlor's thirst for revenge consumed him, Keane Mulready-Woods would unknowingly become the pawn in a deadly game, setting the stage for a trap that would change everything. The 12th of January 2020 began like any other day for Keane. As night fell, he called his mom and asked her to save some money for a cab so he could get home later. She had no idea that this would be their last chat. Keane had no idea that his whole world would change in just a few hours.
Keane was last seen in Drogheda by his family at approximately 6 p.m. on Sunday, 12th January 2020.
He was about to step into a trap that would kill him. The story was already moving forward. Paul Crosby and Gerard Cruise, two men with strong ties to Robbie Lawlor, were told to get Keane to go to a house at 31 Rathmullen Park. The meeting looked like it was just another get-together for gang members to talk. Keane didn't think twice because he wanted to show himself and was sure he was in charge. He had no idea that he was walking right into the hands of those who wanted to get rid of him. At first, when Keane got to the house, everything seemed normal, but that peace was broken very quickly. As soon as Keane walked inside, the door slammed shut behind him, and it became very clear what was really going on. His strength was surpassed by Crosby and Cruise, and in an instant, the house went from being a safe place to a terrifying one. They fought back, but Keane had fewer people than them. He was abused and beaten, and he couldn't do anything to stop the brutal attack. Then Robbie Lawlor showed up. Lawlor took out a knife and approached Keane with the calm of someone who had been waiting for this moment for too long. He slashed Keane's neck with the blade, and Keane's body went limp as the life drained from him. Everything changed in that instant. Keane's fight to stay alive was over, and his fate was sealed. As Keane lay bleeding on the floor, what came next would shock the nation.
When they went to this property, they immediately suspected that attempts had been made to clean up the scene there. There had been recent painting done and parts of the floor in a lounge had been replaced and furniture had been removed from the scene. Upon technical examination, blood belonging to Keane Mulready-Woods was found at this house.
What Lawlor and his men did next wasn't just a murder, it was a statement. Robbie Lawlor wasn't done. What had started as a brutal murder turned into something even more grotesque. Lawlor, consumed by rage and humiliation, wasn't content with just ending Keane's life. He wanted to send a message, one that no one would forget. With methodical precision, Lawlor began to dismember Keane's body. The violence wasn't quick, it was drawn out. Lawlor showed no mercy as he cut Keane into pieces, each severed limb a symbol of the ruthless vengeance that had consumed him. The act wasn't just about silencing Keane, it was about making an example of him. Amid the horror of the dismemberment, something seemingly insignificant stood out, a pair of flip-flops. These flip-flops, worn by the youths who had humiliated Lawlor earlier that year, became a chilling symbol. To Lawlor, they weren't just a pair of shoes, they were a reminder of his public shaming. He included them in the grisly act, deliberately placing them with Keane's remains. The flip-flops were no longer a joke. They were a mark of revenge. Lawlor was making it clear. No one was safe from his wrath, especially not those who had disrespected him. With Keane's brutal end, the authorities were left with a gruesome puzzle, one that would lead them straight into the heart of Dublin's violent underworld. There was a mad rush to find Keane Mulready-Woods. His family, friends, and the entire neighborhood were desperate to find him. They searched the streets, hoping for any clue that could lead them to Keane. As the hours turned into days, the police launched a full-scale investigation. It wasn't just a case of a missing person. It was a crisis that could shake Dublin's criminal underworld. But no one was prepared for what they would find next.
At approximately 9:55 p.m. on Monday, the 13th of January, Gardaí responded to a 999 call that a bag containing human remains had been found at Moatview Drive, Coolock, Dublin 17. A black Puma sports bag was recovered which contained partial human remains.
On January 13, 2020, kids playing in North Dublin found something very scary. Their eyes caught a black sports bag in a quiet, hidden place. At first, they thought it was just trash, but when they opened it, what they found inside was terrifying. Inside, they found Keane's cut-up body parts neatly packed and ordered. The flip-flops, which were the same ones worn by the kids who had made fun of Robbie Lawlor a few weeks before, were carefully put on top. People were shocked when they saw these personal items that were now stained with blood and death. It wasn't just a murder anymore. It was a sentence. Lawlor was telling everyone something. The police moved quickly, raiding several properties linked to the gang. Paul Crosby and Gerard Cruise were arrested, along with others connected to the plot. The investigation revealed how meticulously the murder had been planned and how Keane had been lured into the deadly trap. But even as the authorities made their moves, the violence didn't stop there. Months later, Lawlor's reign of terror came to an end. In a dramatic twist, he was gunned down in Belfast, his own brutal past catching up with him. The cycle of violence had finally come full circle, leaving a legacy of bloodshed in its wake. While Keane's murder was avenged, the scars left behind in the community would remain a constant reminder of the devastating price of gang violence. Keane Mulready-Woods' brutal end marked the collapse of one of Dublin's most feared crime empires. 10 years in jail were given to Paul Crosby, who was a big part of getting Keane to kill himself. Another associate, Gerard Cruise, got 7 years in prison. Both of their terms were cut down. Cruise will be free in 5 years, while Crosby will be free in 7.5 years. Robbie Lawlor, the person who hit the victim and killed him, was killed months later in Belfast in a show of violence that had been planned for years. And that will be all for today's video. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications for more criminal gang stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.